But anyway, moving on. Take a little drink here. Get a little bit energized. We'll talk about something a little bit more positive. Something that's a lot better in quality. But also on Netflix. I'm talking a Netflix original film. I'm talking the trial of the Chicago 7. It's the trial of the Chicago 7. I just have it, trial of the Chicago 7 on my sheet, but it's the trial of the Chicago 7. Available on Netflix, about a story of these 7 people who were on trial for, I don't want to say organizing a riot or a protest, because they didn't really conspire with each other. They all just kind of went to the Democratic National Convention in 1968 to protest the Vietnam War. And, riots ensued, because of that, of such events with the police. And these 7 guys were charged with, I guess, conspiracy and inciting violence. And that's the story. And it's a courtroom drama. The cast in this film is loaded. It's kind of crazy. Let me just list off some names for you. We got Eddie Redmayne, Sacha Baron Cohen, Jeremy Strong, who's a really good character actor, John Carroll Lynch, who's another really great character actor, another young, I don't know if he's that young, but kind of up-and-coming actor. I'm going to butcher his name. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He was in that Watchmen series on HBO, and I thought he was really awesome in that, and he's really great here. Mark Rylance is in this. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Frank Langella, I believe his name is. He's really great. He played Nixon and Frost Nixon. He's awesome in this movie as well. So stacked, absolutely stacked cast list. And probably the best performing ensemble cast of the year in any film this year. It's definitely the most talented of cast of the year. And this film is also written and directed by Aaron Sorkin. Now, if you don't know who Aaron Sorkin is, he's this elite writer. Like, he has this tremendous ability of writing these incredibly compelling scripts. I think he's probably, if not the best script writer, one of them. I think he's up there with Tarantino with his script writing ability. He's responsible for creating The West Wing, which I believe is probably one of the best TV shows ever. He wrote A Few Good Men. He wrote The Social Network. He wrote Moneyball. And, he also is responsible for that HBO TV show, The Newsroom. And now this. So it's just a few things. But, yeah, he's really great. But we'll kind of talk about why he's not, like, my absolute favorite in the industry a little bit later. But, yeah, I honestly didn't have too many notes for this one because I enjoyed this film so much. Like, I thought this film was phenomenal. Like, from a film perspective, the writing is so witty and it's really funny at times and smart and compelling, dramatic. It's pretty much every positive adjective, I guess. And this is kind of what I come to expect from Aaron Sorkin scripts. And he didn't disappoint me at all. Plus, the actors do a spectacular job at delivering these lines. I mean, again, sorry, I'm burping a little bit. Carbonation, I guess. But, again, I guess it doesn't take that much effort to deliver these impeccable lines, I'm sure, because Aaron Sorkin is notorious for having these amazing scripts. But all the acting is really great, especially Sacha Baron Cohen and Eddie Redmayne do a particularly good job. I thought they were really great. Even some of the Oscar baity scenes, if you don't know what those are, they're basically the scenes that the Oscars will play when they announce the actor's, name when they're nominated or they get the award. They'll play their big bombastic emotional scene up on that big, Jumbotron or whatever the fuck they have at the Oscar ceremony. Even in those, like, Oscar baity, like, scenes, you're not thinking about it, while you're watching it, and that's really good, especially from a film that the Oscars probably are gonna love. I think if a film kind of makes me think, oh, this is the Oscar baity scene, the film's not doing something right. And I never thought about that when I was watching this film. I mean, granted, it's a courtroom drama, which I get. I do really like courtroom dramas. I kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for them, almost kind of like I keep mentioning. I'm a huge fan of cosmic horror films. I'm also a huge fan of courtroom dramas as well. So again, that's kind of what this film is. But along with that, it's also kind of a political historical drama, which I'm also not the biggest fan of, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Yeah, but like I said, again, I was so thrown back about how good the writing is. I mean, the amount of character development that is done in such a short amount of time is really impressive. I mean, the film itself, I think, is exactly 2 hours, which is insane because this court case was like extremely long, and even events after the court case are relevant to the film as well. I mean, they're not shown, but yeah, like, just bravo to Sorkin for like keeping it under like exactly 2 hours. It's actually exactly 2 hours, I'm pretty sure, which is insane to me. Which also leads me into like, whoever edited this film, bravo, like, well fucking done. I mean, there's certain scenes that are like bouncing between the riots and the court and what's happening in court, and they're two different times. It's a flashback scene to what actually happened in the riots in the film, and I don't know, I thought it just blended itself so well together, and it's edited incredibly well, especially again with the fact that it's in 2 hours and it's telling a lot in 2 hours, which is insane. The film flows really well. It's never boring. It's always engaging. I'm in it throughout the time, the runtime. Also, just like, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. It was just, I was just so impressed about like with the flashback scenes and how, you know, they edited it to blend so well with the courtroom scenes. I thought it was really, really great. Also, the film has a really good message and purpose to it, that how, you know, civil rights need to be protected, even if, you know, certain, you know, people break the law, they still deserve a certain amount of civil rights. Even so, you know, denying those civil rights is objectively wrong. I mean, obviously there's, you know, exceptions to this, you know, with national security and stuff, but, you know, still, you know, yes, protect people's civil rights, especially when, you know, they're on trial for something. They still deserve the same rights that everyone else has. But yeah, and again, you know, I just overall really enjoyed it. But along with this film being a courtroom drama, it's also a political historical drama, which is probably one of my least favorite genres of film. I mean, it's very low, and there's a certain reason for this. It's because there's a certain element that you have to take into account that you don't have to with any other type of film, really. And it's about historical accuracy. And you know, I've looked at what this film, I looked up online what this film gets right and what it gets wrong. And honestly, it might get 50% to like 40% of it correct, which again, with a film like this, with Aaron Sorkin, I mean, it's clear that he has a political bias and he's on one side. He's clearly on the side of the rioters and the protesters, which, I mean, again, like the film is, and he doesn't hide it in this film. Like the film is very one-sided. It does not perceive police officers in any good light at all. You know, like it's almost kind of ridiculous. I was like, oh, holy shit, like these police officers are like horrible people. You know, they're beating like protesters for no reason, you know, and these protesters are, you know, perceived as absolute heroes and clearly the good guys. And that's not really what happened in real life. Like certain events that happened, like Like, the big thing that happens in the film is the whole charge the hill scene where these protesters charge the hill of, police officers to take back the hill that they were originally on. That never happened that way. The protesters in real life were already on this hill climbing this certain statue before the police even arrived. And yes, violence does ensue after the police arrives, but I mean, again, these protesters are also, there's eyewitness accounts that these protesters were heavily antagonizing police officers, during these riots, that they wanted them to engage them in violence. But I mean, again, there's also eyewitness accounts of police officers like using excessive force and pretty much beating anything that moved with the club, so yeah, like, violence was perpetrated on both sides, and police are not blameless at all. But I mean, again, like, even if your political message, I agree with it, I don't disagree with, Aaron Sorkin's message here, but the fact remains you clearly have a political bias, and you're, framing actual events to support your narrative, which I'm going to kind of have a problem with, even if I agree with your message and your political narrative, I guess, your political stance. Like, I mean, again, like, films that have been criticized for historical accuracy, I mean, Gladiator comes to mind and Braveheart comes to mind, but, like, they're historical epics, like, those, they're not very relevant to modern times, so I would argue the historical accuracy of those films don't fucking matter, like, at all. Like, is Braveheart as good without William Wallace's speech at the end? If it's historically accurate? No, Braveheart's not the same. Is Gladiator as epic and amazing if Commodus is portrayed as the actual Commodus in real life? No. Apparently, Commodus was not a piece of shit in real life, I believe. I'm not a huge history buff, but, I've heard from people who are history buffs that that's not how Commodus was in real life at all. Joaquin Phoenix's character. So, yeah, like, the film would be completely different and probably not as good. So, creative liberties have to be taken with films that are, based off of true events. But it's different when there's, like, a clear political message behind it. And it's at that point where I believe historical accuracy becomes important, because you're framing your film as this is what actually happened. And then if you have some political message that's kind of manipulative behind it, and then you don't, retell the events that actually happened, it's like, well, this is kind of, I don't know, it just kind of takes your film down for me. And that's basically my main gripe with the film. That's my only gripe. I mean, it's a big one. It's a big one because it hurts the film a lot for me. Even if I do agree with your message that, civil rights need to be protected no matter what. But, like, whenever you kind of change the facts to support your narrative, it's kind of, I don't know, you get into dangerous territory there, I feel like, and I can already see the criticisms of someone watching this film and being like, this is bullshit, this film sucks. I would disagree that this film sucks. This film, objectively, it does not suck. Objectively, this film is really great. It's super entertaining, and it has a good message, amazing performances. It's written incredibly well. It's edited incredibly well. It's shot incredibly well. Like, technically, this film is flawless, almost. And it's such an entertaining film, and it's very inspirational. It's just not true to the real-life events, and that's just kind of something that you need to, know before getting into it. And, it is what it is. So, I mean, with that, my overall thoughts of the film, it's spectacular. I mean, it's great. Does it have the movie magic? Yeah, absolutely. The film is amazing. It's really great. For all the reasons that I just went over, it's knocked down to me. And, like, for me, like, is it going to be in the top 10? I'm probably going to put it in there because it's that good. But it's gonna be kind of high on the list because of the historical accuracy and the politicized element of it. I mean, the film even kind of goes or has a roundabout way of telling you, like, yes, this is a politically driven film. This film clearly has political bias. I even thought, like, the most ridiculous part of the film, the judge having bias in the trial, I thought that was like the most ridiculous part of the film, and it turns out it's actually the most accurate part of the film, which I thought was really weird and kind of funny. But I mean, again, like, let's all relax a little bit here, with criticizing a film like this. I mean, it has a good message, so yeah, I mean, I can't be that hard on it, but again, the film's hurt a little bit because what I found to be true. So yeah, I mean, again, it's great. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend the film. I mean, again, I see why people can hate the film because of the historical accuracy and the way it perceives police officers. I can already hear some of my friends being like, well, this is bullshit. This is ridiculous. The way it perceives police officers as horrible, evil human beings. And that's just simply not true. But I also take the stance that you can't objectively say this film is bad. Because it's not. It's incredibly well made. And it's really entertaining. And it has a good message at the end of the day. Hello there. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, this is Nerd Out Sanctuary. I'm your host, Michael. What do I talk about, you say? Well, I talk about anything nerdy. So that's movies, video games, TV shows, comic books every once in a while. Books, maybe not. I don't know. Anything that I feel like talking about. I'm a huge nerd. I hope you're a huge nerd, and I hope we can enjoy our nerdiness together here. This is a full audio podcast available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the major podcast platforms. So consider going over to those and checking out the full version of this of the episode. And other past episodes, please leave me a review and subscribe on those platforms. If you don't want to do that, clipped, shorter versions of those full episodes will be posted here on YouTube. So consider subscribing and liking the videos for more to support me and future content that I will be producing in the future on nerdy stuff. So yeah, thank you, and see you on the next one.